Alright, this video is going to explain how to create your own custom web page and utilize the HTML server capabilities of the Wago 750 series platform. Before we begin, you're going to need a couple pieces of software. The first is Code Assist version 2.3, and you can get that off of wago.us. If you click on Downloads and then you go to Automation and 750 series, if you scroll down at the bottom you'll see 750-912, and that is the Wago IO Pro CAA, which is the Wago's Code Assist program. The second thing you'll need is some sort of HTML editor. One that you might want to take a look at is Notepad++. It's a pretty commonly used text editor, which gives you some nice color syntaxing when you're writing your HTML. And then you need a FTP client, and this is a FileZilla. It's an open source FTP client that you can download off of filezilla-project.org. So what we're going to be doing basically is this is a web page that is actually being served off of a PFC, a Wago 750-841. And a little menu on the side here where you can select the input modules and monitor the input modules. You can see it's being updated every second. It's got a timestamp, tells you what module it is, and you can see data is changing when I modify the input. And then if you go to outputs, you can see the state of the outputs, and you can drive those outputs. So this would work with a demo node. If you have a 750-841 demo node, this is an example that you can go through to familiarize yourself with the capabilities. Alright, so now we're going to look at the files that we're going to be working with today. And you can see here we have 7 files that we're going to be FTPing over to the controller. We've got a couple HTML files. We have an index, a menu, and a title. And if we look at this is the title, this is the menu, and the index is the master file. It's the one that you actually point your web browser to. And basically all this file does is says to load these 3 different files here. And then we have another, on the menu selection, we can actually select whether we want to look at the inputs or outputs. So there's actually 2 files that are loaded in this frame, the input and output, which we call read and write. So if we go back to our file list, you can see there's a read and write SSI. And then we have a couple of JPEGs. You can see we have a textured background here, and then we have a little logo that you can put in the corner. Okay, I want to cover the addressing syntax for the 750 series. And if you go into the quick start guide for the 750-841 and you scroll down to the last page, there's a nice addressing memory map table here. Really shows real clearly. You've got your process input image here, and you can see that at the word level we're looking at IW0 through IW255, and you can also address bit level by using IX 0.0.0 or 0.15, depending on what bit in that first word you want to address. And the same for the output, only instead of the I there's a Q. So QW0 is the starting for the first word, and QW255 would be the last word. And we also have available to us some retentive memory address spaces starting at MW0 and MX 0.0 through 0.15 for the first word, all the way through 12,287. So we're actually going to be using all 3 of these in our example when it comes time to do our Code Assist programming, but I just wanted to quickly show where that information can be found. So now we're going to go into our Code Assist, and for those who haven't used Code Assist, there's another video series that explains Code Assist in a little more detail, but this is a very simple program that that we've created, and essentially all we're doing is we're mapping some internal registers and our output registers, and we're just making the output registers equal to these control registers. And we're doing this because the web interface can't directly toggle your outputs, so you have to toggle some internal memory registers first, and this program is just going to transpose those over to the outputs. So it's a real simple program. It's done in ladder, or in structured text. You could easily do this in ladder as well. And on the target settings, I just made sure that I selected the 841. And on PLC configuration, I just added the 4-channel input and the 4-channel digital output. So we went ahead and logged in and downloaded that, and we just want to make sure it's running. Alright, the next step is to look at the actual files. So these are the 5 files that we're working with, in addition to the 2 graphical files. The index file, you can see here, you've got a title, Wago 841 within this title, and then a slash title. And in HTML, typically you have an identifier followed by a closing identifier with this backslash. This Wago 750-841 is what appears on the menu bar up here. Then we have a frame. We're setting the source frame to title.html, and if you recall, title.html is what we're displaying here. So there's a whole file just to present this information. And then for menu, for the side menu, which is the name that we've called it, and this is the actual file that's being loaded for the side menu, is menu.html, and that again is this file here, and is this side, and this is the read or write SSI. So our default when this first page loads is read SSI, and then again we can modify. We're going to be modifying what's displayed in that main menu depending on what's selected on this on the links on this menu. So if I look at the title screen, the title HTML file, you can see here we've got a background which is banner.jpg, and that's this metal looking background. Typically you want to use some sort of a background that's that tiles well so that you can't see the edge of the graphic. And then we have an image, which is our Wago node, and it's called wago.jpg, and that is this little graphic here. And then we have some text here, Wago 750-841 with HTML server, and that's what's typed in right here. And you can adjust the font size by changing this number down. 7 is the largest number that you can have. And BR just is a line break. Also, this alt is if it can't find this JPEG file, then it will just display this. So it gives you some options there. So that covers this file. The second file we talked about was the menu. So if I go to menu HTML, again you've got your HTML and header file. And essentially this is, we've got a background color, so we're making this blue. It's like kind of a pale blue color. And you can look these numbers up online. This is just a RGB. The first 2 bytes are red, second's green, and then blue. So you can play around with these hex numbers to come up with different colors. So this first line here is the first link in our main menu, and it points to read.ssi, and its target is main menu. So if you go back to index, you can see how we named that third section main menu. So this area is main menu. So this link has a target of main menu. So when you click it, it loads the link into this part of the HTML document. And likewise, if you click output, it's going to link the right SSI file into this frame. And again, that's done with this name. We've defined this frame as called main menu, and then within our link, our target file that we're loading is main menu. Now if you wanted to load this link into the title menu, you could do that. You would just or if you wanted to reload the menu on the side, you would just use side menu. So that covers the main menu, and I also have a link here. This is just an HTML link, HTTP, and that just points to Wago. Actually, it's a PDF of the manual for the A41. So if you want to put some other useful information on there, you can do that. Alright, so now let's look at the read and the write SSI files. SSI is a server-side include, and this is the heart of the code snippet here. It's a read PI, and the A41 interprets this and uses this address, and this is the formatting. So what that does is it essentially calls a program that's running on the PLC to pull the memory out of the data, the processor that's running, and displays it on the web screen, so on the web page. So you can see here we've got all zeros. Now in this case we're pointing to a digital address. We could point this to a word if we wanted to bring in a floating point or some counts on a stepper or something like that. You could definitely do that just by changing the addressing and changing the formatting. The write SSI is the same up top. The only difference is that it's actually pointing to the queue addressing instead of the input registers. And then at the bottom section here we have some code to allow the user to actually change the outputs, and we're doing that with a form action, and this is something that you can just simply cut and paste into your web page, and you can see here's where we're displaying what we're changing, and then this is the actual value, memory address value that we're going to be modifying. The other thing to mention on the read SI, we've added this line here, this meta line, and that just refreshes the page every 1 second. If you wanted every 5 seconds, you just change that number to 5. So you can see here when we're connected to our input, it's changing every second, and if I click a switch, you can see that the output here, the input here is changing as I click the button. On the output, we didn't do that just because it allows time for the user to enter some data and click submit. So this is completely up to developer on how they want to handle that. Alright, so now that we've created these files, we just need to FTP transfer them. So we're going to go to our FileZilla program, and we're just going to type in our IP address and username and password. The default password is Wago and lowercase, port 21, and you click Quick Connect. And once you've connected, we're going to go into the web serve folder, and we're just going to select all of the files here. We're going to upload those. So all the files are uploaded now. And at this point we're ready to connect to the index.html file. So you just want to type in 192.168, whatever your IP address is, followed by the folder and the index.html file, and that's this file right here. This concludes the video on how to utilize the HTML server on a Wago 750/841 to serve up static HTML pages using SSI commands. Thank you for listening.